Good morning. Happy Thursday. Welcome on into Let's Bet It. Lauren Jabari here with Jared Smith. It is presented by Superbook Sports. Jared, we are on to week 8 of NFL football season. We have the Bucks going tonight. They're hoping to destroy the Ravens, which I don't know if that's going to happen. We'll see when tonight plays out. How are you feeling though heading into week 8? Fresh slate.
Yeah, I'm a little under the weather. Weather here in Vegas took a turn. It's getting a little chilly, and my body reacted
Mm.
accordingly. First time we've had any cold weather, and I guess I'm fortunate. Late October, usually my winter, usually when the weather changes, everyone gets sick. It's not,
Yeah.
let's not start singing, my praises or swan songs. I'll be fine. But just a little under the weather today. But other than that, everything's great.
Yeah, and we have another week of NFL football season. We have another week of college football. We have the World Series starting tomorrow. We have NBA action, which, by the way, the Lakers starting the season 0-4. What is going on in LA right now? Cannot believe. That's wild. But yeah, let's talk about it. We have a lot to get into. We have Bobby Stanley coming on, Prop Holiday, to give us some Thursday night football prop bets. We'll congratulate him on his brand new baby. Lots happening today. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's bet it. The Ravens taking on the Bucks. The Bucks right now 2-point underdogs 2-point favorites at this point. 1.5, some sports books. That total right now set at about 45.5. The Ravens, they keep going back and forth, Jared, between winning and then blowing a really late big lead in games. They won against the Browns last week. So is this going to be one of those weeks that maybe we see that keep going? But the Bucks, they had a horrible week last week. They lost to the bottom feeder Panthers with no Christian McCaffrey. They are now 1-4 in their last 5 games. Back-to-back losses against the Panthers and then the Steelers. They were touchdown plus favorites against both of those teams. Can the Bucks get it going and Tampa Bay get this ship back on track, or do you see the Ravens kind of taking advantage here?
Yeah, some interesting line movement here. The Ravens actually did so. Our friends at the Westgate, and we talked about this on Pickswise Playbook. Please go watch Pickswise Playbook. It should be live right now. Our friends over at the Westgate, John Murray and his crew, they really wanted to make the Bucks a favorite at the Open here. And I think they did, but it was very quickly bet to the other side. And the Ravens quickly flipped as the favorite. And that usually set, the Superbook and a couple of other shops usually originate the NFL markets every week. So once the Ravens line flipped and Bucks opened as a small favorite and the Ravens were favorite, the rest of the market opened Baltimore as a very small favorite. Well, we've seen some movement over the last 24 hours, and now we wake up this morning and the Bucks are favored by 2 points. You can still find a 1.5 out there, but Westgate hanging 2. And that's curious to me because most of the action so far from what I'm seeing has been on the Ravens. So a little reverse line movement there. And that's always noteworthy. When you look at this game, as a matchup, obviously the line movement only tells you so much. The matchups say that this is probably one of those backs against the wall kind of spots for Tom Brady. If you go back and look at their schedule, lost the last 2 games to the Steelers and the Panthers. Clearly, those 2 teams are underachieving. Then they beat the Falcons, but they have a 21-0 lead. I know because I bet the Bucks laying 8 points, and then they let Atlanta back in the game. Bucks win by 6, but it was a very controversial game. Remember, that was the Tom Brady, Grady Jarrett, personal foul game. Prior to that, they get blasted by the Chiefs. They lose to the Packers. That loss isn't looking great. They beat the Saints on the road, and the only reason they won that game was the Mike Evans getting into a fight, and then Jameis Winston throws the pick 6 on the next drive, and that game was all out of whack.
Crazy.
And in the first game of the year, they beat the Cowboys. Well, Dak Prescott got hurt in the second quarter. So you can really look at every single one of their games this year, even their 3 wins, and say, what's going on there in Tampa? Now, you can say the same thing about the Ravens. Every single game the Ravens has played this year is dripping with drama. They like to play close games. They like to let teams back in the game. Their last 4 games have all been decided by 4 points or less. So I think this game is going to be close. I think I favor Tampa with the line flip and some of the other things I'm seeing metrically with the Ravens defense. But let's be honest. Tampa Bay hasn't impressed me. So I would not be surprised if this game was very nip and tuck, very back and forth. Two quarterbacks both do different things, and should be entertaining. Honestly, it should be a pretty entertaining Thursday night game, I think.
Yeah, you said the Bucks haven't impressed you. They haven't impressed very many people. This is like Tom Brady's worst start since 2002, and it was his second year with the Patriots starting under center. It's just crazy to see what's going on with that Tampa Bay Bucks team this season. The Ravens right now scoring the sixth most points per game. The Bucks averaging the fifth worst in points per game over the last 3 weeks. They're only averaging 14 points per game over the last 3 weeks. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they could only score a field goal last week against the Panthers. Baltimore, Jared, has also eaten two straight up in their last 10 games against Tampa Bay. So trends don't necessarily favor the Bucks here, but we'll see what happens. The Ravens obviously want to finally get 2 wins in a row this season and not blow a late fourth quarter lead like they've done 3 other times. Let's get into some would you rathers from around the NFL. To win the NFC, the Niners right now are at 6.5 to 1 odds to win the NFC, or the Vikings at 7 to 1 odds. They're the second and third favorites in that category right now. Who would you
Definitely
rather?
the Niners. Definitely
Niners.
the Niners. The Niners are a very good football team, people. The Niners are the same team that went to the NFC Championship game last year plus Christian McCaffrey. They are the exact same team. Nothing has changed. Same quarterback, same scheme, same offense, plus Christian McCaffrey. This is a Niners team that was a breath away, a dropped interception away from going to the Super Bowl last year. This is the easiest would you rather ever. The Vikings are so overrated. When the rubber meets the road, they will be exposed because it's Kirk Cousins. And I know Jimmy G's not exactly, Magellan over here navigating his team to all these wins. But like I said, one breath away from the Super Bowl last year. And they're the same price as they are Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Now, I think Philly's the better team than all these, but that doesn't mean the better team doesn't always win. And by the way, the better team got better yesterday by trading for Robert Quinn. Contemplate that in your brain.
Marinate on that for a second. What about Offensive Rookie of the Year? With no more Breece Hall in the race at this point, Kenneth Walker has moved down to 2 to 1 odds, Dameon Pierce at 3 to 1. But with the way Kenneth Walker III has been playing, and I said this on our Pickswise Playbook show too, K-Dub for Heisman, baby. This guy is going to be the real deal if he keeps going the way that he is. Heisman. Seriously. I know. Love it.
There was some chatter about him winning the Heisman last year. I do remember that when Michigan State was making their run. There was a lot of chatter last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember if he made the podium or not. I forget.
I think he did make the podium. I think he did make
Kyle
the podium.
Can look that up. So the award circuit certainly very familiar to Mr. Walker. So it's a shame. It really is a shame about
Breece Hall
Breece Lightning. Can I just give a shout out to Ian Eagle, who is the best play-by-play guy ever? That call was unbelievable. Breece Lightning. So I'll pour one out for Breece. I hope you recover from your ACL injury soon, sir, and we'll see you back healthy next year, maybe, hopefully. Listen, I think there's a little bit of success marinated into this award, and I think team success doesn't matter a ton, but it helps for running backs. Why does it help? Well, game script. If you're ahead in games, the running backs will be more of a factor, you would think. So I expect Seattle to be ahead in more games than Houston down the stretch. So I just based off of that, considering these guys are relatively the same price and there is explosion and excitement with both guys. One was a preseason star. The other one's kind of come on lately. You can make a really strong case for both guys. But I think the differentiator here is Seattle should be ahead in more games, and Kenneth Walker will likely be a factor in more prominent games. And I think that is why he's A, the favorite, B, my choice here.
Yeah, I like that too. It's going to be interesting to see who kind of breaks out. And on the podium last year, it was Aiden Hutchinson, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and Kenny Pickett.
So
I think Kenneth Walker III just missed the cusp. He was that fifth, maybe sixth guy. So he just missed the podium, but he deserved to
a great year
for a while. Yeah, he had a great year. There was a lot of really, really good players last year that kind of deserve to be on that Heisman podium. But guess what? This year is the year. Kenneth Walker the third for Heisman, baby. Let's go. What about most receiving yards in the NFL? Tyreek Hill right now 4.5 to 1, or Justin Jefferson at 5 to 1 odds. I know you're a big JJ guy, so I feel like you're probably leaning there. But do you like Tyreek?
So this is tough because you've got the quarterback situation in Miami, which is, you just don't know if Tua is going to last the whole year. Like he's bowling over. I don't know if you watched the game on Sunday night, but he is like putting his head down, like going full on into the defense with his quarterback running plays. And like every time that happens, like poor Chris Collinsworth in the booth is like, like it was funny to watch. I think I would go Justin Jefferson here. I do think Minnesota is a little more consistent with their passing attack. And I know that sounds foolish coming from a Kirk Cousins-led offense, but I think he's the more polished of the two receivers. I think Tyreek's the more explosive, so you get more boom or bust. But if you're going to ask me an award that's a season-long award that I need consistency over the course of the full 17 games, I'd probably lean Justin Jefferson. But I'll be honest, I really don't have a strong opinion here.
Yeah, I know. I honestly don't know who I'm leaning here in this spot. I obviously like Tyreek because I have him on my fantasy team. I had to get one mention in there this week, Jared. I haven't mentioned it through 3 weeks. You're
actually right. You actually haven't mentioned it in a while. It's been
so happy
you haven't
to get
met
in there,
your
though.
quota, check.
Tyreek has been that dude for my team, with Kyle Pitts maybe not living up to expectations this season as a fantasy manager, but I'm still holding on tight for my Atlanta people, guys. Let's keep it going. Let's bring in Bobby Stanley because we want to get into some Thursday Night Football props. I'm sure there was a lot to dig up this week between the Ravens and the Bucs. A lot of big names in there and a lot of guys that are going to want to really right the ship for their team. Bobby Stanley, first of all, congratulations. How is the baby? Are you sleeping?
The baby's doing well. I'm consistently hitting unders every night on my sleep hours total. It's going really, really good.
Sounds about right. My sister has 3 kids.
4.5 hours of sleep.
The
under is minus 170.
Oh, yeah, no, it's consistent. But honestly, what's been really cool is, so I take the night shift doing the feedings and whatnot. I get to stay up all night and watch basketball. So I'm up. I catch the whole Wednesday slate, the whole Tuesday slate, the West Coast games. And I think he's picking it up. I think he's catching on. Last night we were watching the Lakers. He spit up all of his food. So he's picking up pretty quickly. NBA. Yeah.
Sounds about right.
I love it. Bobby Stanley, we have the Ravens taking on the Bucs this week. The line is kind of vacillated back and forth. Now the Bucs are the 2-point favorites. When you look at some of these, injuries that are going on with this team, how are you betting different props in this game? Take us through your slate.
It was tough. I mean, early on in the week, they didn't have a lot out there. There was a couple of the big name guys, Evans, Godwin, Mark Andrews didn't come in later in the week. So I had to do a little bit of bargain bin hunting to find my first prop. And it's not technically a player prop, but it is a prop. And it's both teams to score a touchdown in each half. And it's plus 168. I feel like we're getting pretty good value on this on two teams. I'm buying low. They're kind of on the decline. If I look at the numbers, Ravens averaging 11 points per game on the road in the first half, 15.5 points per game in the second half on the road. Tampa at home, 11 points per game in the first half, 10 points per game in the second half. But they're finally getting, at least Tampa is getting a little bit healthier. I do think Julio Jones ends up playing tonight, even though it's a game-time decision. So injuries on the defensive side of the ball for both teams, which bodes well for touchdowns. But I really like this play. Both teams to score one touchdown in each half does not seem that outlandish. And these two teams are not the Colts, the Commanders, the Bears that kind of ruined our Thursday night football perspective a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, the injury reports for both teams look very
daunting.
Disappointing. Yeah. I was trying to come up with an adjective to find, but I really could. I mean, I think the Mark Andrews injury for Baltimore is massive. I think if there's one guy that they can't afford to lose in that passing game, it's him. He's their Travis Kelce. I mean, he just sets up and he opens up so much space on the outside because he commands such a presence over the middle. And again, questionable. It's 10 a.m. Pacific or Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. We won't know really what his status is for another 8 hours, but I am a little bit concerned about that part of Baltimore's offense. On Tampa's side, I love when you throw a guy in your mix that I've never heard of before. I literally have never heard of Cade Otton.
You know what I did for you guys
today.
In the rundown? I made sure I had a Tampa Bay tight end because I knew I would get these type of
Bucks tight end. Yeah, it literally says that in there.
I'm ahead
of
you. So
go ahead, Bobby. Enlighten us on Cade Otton.
Sure. Well, we talked about the injuries. Cameron Brate is out. Russell Gage is out tonight. In the 2 games that Cameron Brate hasn't played over the last 3, Cade Otton played 81% of the snaps, 94% of the snaps. He's had 3 red zone targets over the last 3 weeks. And the Ravens have given up 4 touchdowns to opposing tight ends this season in 7 games. So we know what Brady thinks about his tight ends. We know that this guy, when Brate's out, should play maybe 80% of the snaps. At plus 350, maybe he slides into that 4th pecking order behind Julio Jones tonight.
Yeah, I actually really like that. What about Tom Brady? Is he going to get this team back on track tonight? They are 1-4 in their last 5 games. This is probably his worst start to the season since back in 2002, his second year with the Patriots.
It's tough to bet against Tom Brady. We've been saying that probably for the last 10 years. I'm not going to start doing it now, but this could be, the line of demarcation for Tom Brady. Let's see how he responds with his back against the wall at 40 whatever years old. But I'm looking at his completions, and it's really more so the number than anything else. It's over 25.5 completions. Hit this line in 4 of the last 5 games, even though they haven't been playing well as a team. Baltimore's allowing a 67% completion percentage to opposing quarterbacks, 23rd overall in the league. But over the last 3 games, they're allowing 73% completions to opposing QBs. Brady at home, we see an uptick in passing attempts, 42, 52, 52. I think his floor tonight on passing attempts is 40. And if he gets there and he hits that 67% rate that we're seeing the Ravens give up, now we're at 27 completions. So from a data analytics standpoint, over 25.5 seems pretty good. Seems pretty safe to me. And again, I think Julio Jones coming back tonight would speak well to him getting a little bit more involved in the passing game.
How do you feel about his, first of all, funny comment in the chat, Jeff Bach, Brady after 7 p.m. he gets sleepy, Ravens money line. Ha ha.
So do I.
Yeah, exactly. You kidding me? I was up at 5:30 a.m. this morning, Jeff. I'll be asleep by halftime probably. But what about Brady? What about Brady's passing attempts prop at 38.5? And I know it's probably very correlated to this, but after everything I've seen and heard, Byron Leftwich is getting smoked over the last 2 weeks with these game plans. And again, it is a correlated bet to the completions. You would expect if one hits, the other one will. But do you see any difference between those two? 38.5 for his completions prop tonight. It seemed, in my eyes, if the Bucks don't throw the ball a million times on this Ravens secondary with Humphrey out and Peters out, I don't see why they wouldn't just go crazy attacking this Ravens secondary tonight.
No, they should. They should. And again, we see the uptick at home for Brady with the pass attempts, 42, 52, 52. You could make the case that we could see a shootout because of the injuries on the Bucs secondary side of the ball. Carlton Davis, Antoine Whitfield, Stephen Bunting. So if it does become a shootout.
Yeah, Bunting, Winfield, all out. And Hicks is also questionable up front. Carlton Davis is out. I mean, there's a bunch of injuries on both sides.
There's a lot of injuries.
Indicating that we're looking at potentially a bit of a shootout. Looking at Leonard Fournette, has not played well recently. I mean, like you said, it was Byron Leftwich, who's really under fire right now for his offensive game plans. Stick to what you know. Get the ball out of Brady's hands quickly. Get Godwin and Mike Evans involved. Last week was embarrassing with Mike Evans and that drop. But no, I think you really could play it either way. You want to go with the completions. You want to go with the pass attempts. The reason I feel safer about the completions is because just how poorly the Ravens have, performed in that category. 73% over the last game completion percentage. So they're not getting good pressure. Calais Campbell's out tonight. And their secondary's banged up. So these veteran wide receivers could have a day for the Bucs.
So just a math thing. So Mark, I'm sorry. Because this is, to me, you know me, Bobby, Nerd City. So 26 out of 39, which would be over completions over attempts.
Yeah.
That's 66% completion percentage. So based off of just that simple math, you would say the completions has more value because of that 73% completion percentage number you just told me. We expect Brady to be at the 70% mark tonight in the completion percentage category, which means the completions probably makes more sense. Am I doing that wrong in my head?
No, I think the completions makes a little bit more sense. But
okay.
I guess the reason you threw out the pass attempts, just because of the uptick, I feel like him at home, and it gives you a little bit more flexibility. Yes, it's 73% over the last 3. It's still 67% for the season, which is 23rd worst.
Which is right on par. Yeah.
Yep.
So I guess it's pick your poison. Sorry, Lauren. Apologies. Continue.
No, you're good. I was just going to say overall, Bobby Stanley, before we let you go, prop Holliday. Bobby Stanley, I like saying your name a bunch. Who comes out on top of this one? Do the Bucks kind of right the ship after 2 horrible losses to the Steelers and the Panthers, or do the Ravens continue their trend of winning one week and then losing the next?
I'm leaning the Bucks tonight and the over 45.5. I do think Brady with his back up against the wall is the way to go. Defensively, I feel like the injuries to Baltimore a little bit more, I guess, a little bit more prominent. Looking at Humphrey, looking at Peters, because we know how talented those wide receiver core for Tampa Bay is. We look at the other side of the ball with the Ravens. Yeah, Mark Andrews being we'll call it a game time decision now, but that. I guess it doesn't matter as much with the Tampa Bay secondary because Devin Duvernay, Demarcus Robinson, Rashad Bateman don't really instill fear anyway, even if they were healthy. So I lean the Bucks and I lean the over as I normally do because it's under everywhere else in the Stanley home.
Bobby Stanley, we so appreciate you. Thank you for coming on the show. Best of luck taking care of the baby this weekend. We'll see you Sunday for more props for Sunday.
We'll see you Sunday. Later, guys. Thank you.
Bye. That was prop Holliday, Bobby Stanley, and brand new father. You'll love to see it. Speaking of being a father, the Astros have been a father to everybody in Major League Baseball this postseason because they haven't lost a single freaking game. The Phillies haven't lost a game at home in the postseason. The World Series starts tomorrow. I can't believe it's already here. The Phillies taking on the Astros. Game 1 of the World Series, Jared. If you had to place a bet on this right this second, how do you see this playing out, this whole series?
The series or game 1? The series?
The series, first of all.
So there's one important thing to note here before you think about betting this series. Our friend Mattress Mac, I know it's not exactly an analytical thing here, but Mattress Mac has wagered so much money on this Astros to win the World Series that I'm getting notes from bookmakers telling me that they are shading the line by a few cents to Houston to try to balance the action a little bit and, make up for that liability. So just based off of those little dribs and drabs that I get throughout my weekly correspondence, there is quote unquote value by betting the Phillies to win this series.
Yeah.
Take that for what it is. I don't think they're going to win the series, but there is value on them to win the series. Now, how I think this is going to play out, I think Houston's going to make mincemeat out of these guys. I don't like the matchup for Philly. The bullpen eventually will come back to bite this team. The defense eventually will come back to bite this team. Is there an aura of destiny around the Phillies? Kind of like I feel about where the Braves were last year. We were doing this show last year, and I remember both of us bet the Braves to win that series. Even though Houston probably was the better team, but there was a little destiny about the Braves. I feel that way about the Phillies. But can that happen 2 years in a row where the better team loses guys, the Astros are the better team. They've been the better team since day one. I mean, we've been on them since day one. I'm a Yankees fan, and I even bet them to win the American League. That's how much they have been the better team. But baseball can be weird sometimes. It can be a little fluky. So not like a overwhelmingly, confident bet because you're laying $2 basically. But I do think Astros in 5, Astros in 6 sounds right to me.
I mean, that's on paper what looks the best. You look at the depth of both
Yeah.
of these teams, and obviously the Astros have the depth. The Phillies, for a majority of the summer, hovered around 500 before getting a kick in the butt from I don't even know what
Yeah.
it was. They just got momentum at the
Like the
right
Braves
time.
last year.
Yeah, like the Braves last year, like the Nationals in 2019. We've seen it
Yeah.
happen in 2 of the last 3
All
years.
National League
Why
East
can't it
teams.
happen?
Random.
Why can't it happen again? 2 of the last 3 years. The NL East, baby.
It
They're
certainly
coming for
can.
blood. They're sniffing blood. They're coming for it.
Are you picking the Phillies? Are you picking the Phillies?
I always pick the underdog. I'm a big underdog gal. A lot of the time, it's profitable for me. It's
I
profitable.
don't hate
I
it.
love it.
You're getting value. I do not hate it at all.
It
If you're
makes me
brave
nervous
enough.
because it makes me nervous because of the depth in the bullpen that the Astros have. That the Phillies, I don't
Defense,
think
too.
necessarily have that. And defense.
There's
There's a lot.
so many things to like about Houston. It's really hard to get to the window on
Yeah.
Philly, but the betting value is there. I mean, there's no doubt
And
about
Dusty
that. The betting
Baker,
value is absolutely there.
Dusty Baker is extremely hungry. He's 0-2 in his World Series appearances right now.
Yeah.
And I feel like Houston also has that chip on their shoulder of wanting to, hey, we're going to win the World Series cleanly this year and kind of get that cheating chip off their back at this point. I think that like they're thinking
They're going to
about
still
that
be
at some point.
accused of cheating, I'm sure.
Like the Yankees
I'm sure
didn't
they'll be
have
accused.
any answer. Houston was relentless against them. No one thought that the Yankees would get swept at that point. They couldn't hit the freaking ball. They struck out they averaged like 14 to 15 strikeouts per game.
Awful.
We'll see.
The Yankees
We'll see what happens. Game 1 in Houston. Who takes it?
Yeah, I mean, you would think the winner of game 1 wins the series, right? So very correlated bet. I actually think that's a very good way to get some value on Houston is you bet them. You can do those parlays. I don't know which books offer them, but I remember doing them a lot. Remember we did them in the NHL postseason last year. Game 1 plus the series win for the favorite, to be basically plus money. I don't know what that
We
price
did that
would
with
be,
NBA. We did that with NHL. Yeah.
we've done it with, all the 7-game series. Usually the books offer that prop. Who wins game 1, parlayed with who wins the series. My guess is you could probably get the Astros at plus money in that market. That would be a market I would consider for game 1. I mean, listen, I know I'm beating a dead horse here. We're going back to the well. The Nerfy is unbelievable with these two pitchers, Verlander and Nola. 54-6 Nerfy record this year between Verlander and Nola. Now, the total 6.5. The Nerfy's probably going to be like minus 160. But you want a quick, easy, fun bet for game 1 on Friday night. You don't have to stay up and watch the whole game. You know me, the Nerfy King.
Get in, get out, win your money, and call it a day.
That might be my play of the day tomorrow. We'll see what the price is. We'll get to tomorrow. But, listen, the World Series, we haven't talked a whole lot about baseball this week. I think overall, and I saw a couple of my friends tweeting this. You could tell me if you agree or not. Like the national media just does not care about this series at all. Like I haven't seen it on any rundown for SportsCenter or any of those national shows. Like it's not a World Series. I think that's capturing the hearts and minds of the public. And that's because Houston's been there a bunch. No one really likes them unless you're in Houston. And the Phillies are kind of this weird team that if you're outside of Philly, no one likes the city of Philadelphia. So it's not a very, it's not a very exciting World Series. I don't know how you feel about it, but it's definitely been down on the buzz scale, at least in my eyes.
Yeah, I think so too. I really do like the Phillies, though. I know I'm not supposed to root for teams to go up against the Braves a bunch during the season, but at this point, the team that knocked them out, I'm all about it. Let's go. The Houston Astros have been there, done that. I'm all about a new team. I'm all about a new team getting there and making it happen. So we'll have a lot of World Series talk heading into tomorrow. We'll get into our play of the day in a second. But first of all, Let's Bet It is presented by Superbook Sports. Make sure to go to superbook.com or download the app today. And this season, Jared, we're rooting for safeties. That's because Superbook is going to give you a $50 bonus on each safety scored this season. Just place a $100 pregame bet on any spread or any total. And if there's a safety scored in any game on Sunday, you get a $50 bonus. Make sure to visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Superbook.com to Pickswise.com. 3-star play of the day. Gerard, who do we got today?
Oh, Laron, we have some bets today, actually. Actually, one bet today, and then the rest for Saturday's college football slate. I won't really talk much about that. Chadwick Wetzel, puck, Leaf Sharks on a money
Wow.
line play. Check it out. And I'll give you a couple more. So I'm in the very advantageous position now where I'm starting to get hockey picks sent to me from some
Ooh.
bookmakers.
Ooh.
Zach Lucas, shout out, does a fantastic job helping me analyze NFL futures on a weekly basis for the column. That column, by the way, is live, Back to the Futures. You can read about it this week. I did place a futures bet in the NFL this week on the San Francisco 49ers. Please go read more about that. But he texted me this morning bright and early, and he's on the West Coast too, so this is really early for him. He texted me Wild, and he texted me Canucks. Have fun.
I like it. Have fun. Speaking of hockey bets and moneyline bets, I am 3-0 in my last 3 hockey bets that I've placed.
Are you really?
And I have another one for you today. Yes. I have the Panthers taking on the Flyers, and I am taking the Flyers money line at plus 168. They're 4-2 on the season. No one expected them to start like that. The Panthers are hovering right around the same. They're 4-2-1 on the season. They've already played once this year. It was last week on October 19th. For me, a lot of this bet has to do with Carter Hart. He's been playing great for the Flyers at this point. He's 4-0, 1.75 goals against average, 1.75, and a .949 save percentage. He's been the reason that they've had some early success this season. Sergei Bobrovsky for the Panthers side has had an average-ish start to the season. He's averaging just under 3 goals against, 2.85 goals against average, 9.908 save percentage. He allowed 3 goals on 21 shots in Chicago. They lost on Tuesday. I don't think he's seeing the puck as well as he did last year. Again, that's a little bit of the rust from the offseason. They're getting back into it. But the Panthers have already been on the road for a little while. They might be a little jet-lagged at this point, where the Flyers have been home. I'm betting on the Flyers money line, though, because of their netminder and because they're the more well-rested team. And also, I think that a lot of odds makers are looking at the Panthers and the success that they had last season, and they're like, wow, like this team is really good. We need to favor them by a lot. I feel like we're buying ourselves a little value here at plus 168. I feel like the Flyers should be more of like a plus 120 underdog because they're really pretty evenly balanced this year. I feel like the under is also a good play just because both goaltenders are playing pretty well. Carter Hart obviously playing extremely well. And the under is 15-5-2 in the last 22 games between these two teams. So something to keep in mind, but I am taking the Flyers money line plus 168. So yeah, you love to see it. Your play of the day, Gerard. Who do we got today?
Well, I went back and forth here. Listen, I'm betting the Bucks. I'm putting one shiny unit on the Bucks at minus 1.5, and that was going to be my play of the day, and I think that's a good bet. And then Bobby wowed me with his handicap on Tom Brady's completions prop. Went back and forth with the attempts. I think completions, probably based on the numbers, is the right move. Minus 106, very favorable price. Usually you're paying 15 or 20 cents of juice for a prop, but because you're kind of selling a completion here, you're only laying 6 cents. Now, you can get this at over 24.5 for a higher price, obviously, but I don't think that's necessary. Based on the projections from what we're seeing here, Bobby expects him to get the 40 attempts and 27 completions. So that would be nice because that would be well over what this is. And I think the game script makes sense. If you think about Byron Leftwich and all the issues Tampa Bay's had running the ball, the Ravens are better against the run slightly than the pass, and backs against the wall for Tom Brady. They've lost 4 out of 5. They've been embarrassed by 2 bottom feeder teams over the last 2 weeks. People are saying the witch magic of Giselle is wearing off. I am taking that very seriously. I told you I've contracted several witches here in the Las Vegas area to help me get my picks right. We're thinking it's going to be Bucks, Brady over completions tonight, but the official play of the day for this show, Tom Brady over 25.5 completions at minus 106 odds. You see Bucks there on the screen. You can bet the Bucks. That's a play of the day also. They're both plays of the day. Why don't I just give them both out? Bucks and Brady.
Yeah, you can have 2 play of the days. Yeah.
Hey,
play
baby,
play of
let's
the day
go.
for TB. I love it. I absolutely love it. Tom Brady back against the wall. He's going to make it happen. It's going to be an exciting game tonight, I think. Lamar against TB. We'll see what happens. That's it for us today, guys. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to Pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. Jared Smith, Lauren Jabara. We'll see you guys tomorrow. A lot of MLB talk tomorrow. A lot of Week 8 NFL, Week 9 college football. We'll see you there. Don't miss out. Let's get it. Let's bet it.